Isis Astarte Diana Hecate Demeter Kali Inanna. Isis Astarte Diana Hecate Demeter Kali Inanna. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. There is a woman who weaves the night sky. See her spin. Watch her fingers fly. She is within us, beginning to end. Our grandmother, our sister, and our friend. She is the weaver, and we are the web. She is the needle, and we are the thread. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. Some of us grew up in the time when jobs in the newspapers were divided into two columns, men's jobs and women's jobs. The women's column listed jobs like secretary, nurse, bookkeeper. The men's column contained mysterious titles like engineer and inspector and mechanic. If there had been an advertisement for minister or preacher, it certainly would have been under men's jobs. That is the world we inherited. Yet the divine feminine could be seen hidden in this world of the 1950s and 1960s, just as she can suddenly appear in these repressive times. My father was a school principal, and my mother was a school nurse. Although my family was somewhat supportive of my and my sister's academic and leadership efforts, they and the larger culture carried a clear message. Men led, women followed. Men spoke with authority. Women were expected to be supportive, nurturing, and as my father insisted upon, some vague and undefined but pervasive thing called nice. Yet even as a child, something in me resisted that narrative story. I also saw resistance in my mom, who had been a World War II Army nurse and officer, a battle-ready Athena who served in England during the war. I saw hidden power in the girls and women I lived with every day. I didn't have the language for it then, but I was seeing the resilient power of women, those persistent sparks of the divine feminine. My serious search began when I was 11. I was captivated researching a school report on ancient Egypt, opening books filled with brilliant colors, gold, jewelry, powerful queens, goddesses, and sacred imagery. I was completely blown away by the beauty of it all. Nothing in my suburban Garden Grove world looked like that, believe me. What fascinated me was not only the art. What grabbed and enthralled me was the possibility that women could be represented as sacred, wise, powerful, and central to the story. I kept searching. We had neither the internet nor TikTok. I found strong girls in books. Nancy Drew, Solving Mysteries. Who read Nancy Drew? Pippi Longstocking, Defying Expectations, and the girls and women of Louisa May Alcott's stories working to create meaningful lives on their own terms. I faithfully read one biography every week in grade school, and they informed me about strong women as well as men. As a younger child, the historical context these famous people lived in baffled me, but I understood their character and their actions as part of their unique story. Over time, where and when these people lived began to fall into place in my mind. I was a tomboy who auditioned for boys' roles in school plays. I questioned assumptions, I searched libraries and images looking for reflections of myself in history, mythology, and religion. As I grew older, that search led me into the ancient Mediterranean world, where I studied Greek mysteries and found the various myths centered on Demeter and Persephone and the yearly cycle of birth, death, and rebirth in the natural world. I explored Buddhism and developed devotion to Kuan Yin, the bodhisattva and goddess of deep, boundless compassion. As I grow older, I continue to find a sense of home and centeredness in pagan traditions, where the sacred feminine is not hidden in the margins, but stands out there openly at the center of spiritual life, and those cycles of nature are honored. The divine feminine has become much more than a historical subject for me. It's a way of seeing, not as a replacement for a deity, but as an expansion of understanding the sacred. She is a reminder that intuition belongs beside reason and science, that compassion belongs beside justice, that relationship belongs beside achievement, that nurturing life is every bit as holy as directing it or ending it. The divine feminine taught me that wisdom is not only found in books, architecture, and institutions, it can be found in dreams and intuition, in the cycles of nature, and in the deep knowing of the heart. This understanding continually transforms my spiritual life. I am a practitioner as much as a student. I don't accept ideas simply because someone tells me they are true. Otherwise, I'd still be a Latter-day Saint. But I learn about sacred practices, and then I meditate. I take shamanic journeys. When possible, I physically travel to the sacred places I've read about, and I've been very blessed to be able to do that. I practice and experiment, listen, and then share what I learn. I'm currently studying and working in an ancestor healing tradition that brings everything I've learned together. I recently completed the healing of one of my mother's ancestor lineages, and that has been one of the most satisfying works of my life. Everything I've learned and practiced spiritually has come to play in this new chapter of my spiritual practice. In the ancient world, the cyclical story of descent and return appears repeatedly. Now, I did not intentionally time this service to be released the same week as Christopher Nolan's mega hit movie, The Odyssey. Total coincidence. I don't want to go too far into a discussion of the movie, but I'd love to talk afterward about it. I have strong feelings about the way he represents the female characters, but that is a discussion for another time. There is some slight historical evidence that the Odyssey was originally written by a woman. The ancient world of Greece and Rome, with the exception of a few traditions, lived in that sacred circular cycle in their religious worship and daily life. The Odyssey and the Iliad are in that sacred tradition. Death and rebirth, loss and renewal. The earliest recorded story that illustrates the cycle is the ancient Sumerian myth of Inanna. 5,000 years ago, a priestess named Enheduanna wrote hymns to the goddess Inanna. She is the earliest named author in recorded history, and she was a woman. Enheduanna records the goddess Inanna's descent into the underworld. In the hymns, at each gate that she encounters as Inanna goes on her descent, she removes another symbol of her status and identity until she stands stripped of everything. Eventually, she dies, losing her life to her quest. But that's not the end of the story. She returns, renewed, transformed, bringing life back into the world. That story and this sacred cycle mirrors our own lives. Every one of us experiences loss and descent. We lose people we love. We lose health. We lose certainty. We lose identities we once relied upon. Like nearly everyone, I've faced serious illnesses, grief, and the reality that some things that came easily when I was younger no longer do. Like Inanna, there have been times when I feel stripped down to essentials. And like Inanna, I experience renewal that brings dawning of a new but different day. She rises. This is one of the deepest gifts the divine feminine offers me. Not perfection, not invulnerability, not an unprovable heaven, but trust in the cycle itself. The trust that spring follows winter, that healing follows loss, that life continues after heartbreak, that we are held by something larger than ourselves. There were times during my struggles with cancer when I was carried on a wave of strength offered to me by my friends and family, whether through energy work, prayer, a text, a chicken pot pie, a check-in, depending on the spiritual beliefs of the person who is making the offering. These actions remind me that we are not machines or AI-generated avatars, but living beings moving through sacred cycles. As I close out this sacred cycle towards the end of my life now, I know I'll be carried on that wave of love and affection and remembrance. Now, that doesn't mean I won't also go out kicking and screaming, believe me. That's not me. But all living beings must face that final transition to death. But I know I won't be alone during that transition. If you want to see a fun movie that echoes the journey of Inanna, Greta Gerwig's Barbie is your film. Get out the popcorn and watch or rewatch Barbie through the lens of the myth of Inanna. A quick read on Wikipedia will get you ready. I'm so grateful for our own feminist UU historians and theologians, Starhawk, NPR reporter Margot Adler, Tendeka, Nicole Kirk, Sharon Welch, and so many others. Each UU, in her own way, refuses silence and preaches truths that the world is not always ready to hear. Each reminds me that spiritual authority comes not only from institutions, but from shared and lived experience. Freya Shakti Hathorianan Rea Mata Morrigan. Freya Shakti Hathorianan Rea Mata Morrigan. Hi, raising up the goddess, oh, fill my soul. Hi, raising up the spirit, oh, make me whole. She is a woman crowned with a crescent. She is the mother of all that lives. She is the earth that is spinning in starlight. She is the goddess of all that is. Hi, raising up the goddess, oh, fill my soul. Hi, raising up the spirit, oh, make me whole. Recently, I joined a book group that is reading Emily Hauser's Penelope's Bones and using Emily Wilson's exciting new translations of the Greek classics, the Odyssey and the Iliad. I, like many of us, and that was part of the reading, that was Emily Hauser's intro to Penelope's Bones, which is an amazing book. Like many of us, I read the ancient works, the Odyssey and the Iliad, a while ago as a college student. They and other lost manuscripts tell the tales of the ancient Greeks in the Trojan War. More importantly, these stories have been taught to children and students in the West as the very foundation of the journey of the male hero, his inner and outer journeys to adulthood and wisdom. Emily Hauser's reflections on each of the women and goddesses in the Iliad is profound. Hauser brings each woman and goddess to life using new information and archaeological evidence, peering through the biased and misogynistic overlays in these epic stories and earlier translations. In Penelope's Bones, we are gifted with a much clearer historical vision of who these ancient women were and their role in the female journey as a vibrant human being, actively worship goddesses and heroines. Of course, I brought a short bibliography today. They're at the back. In 15, 17 minutes. It's pretty tough to fit everything in, right? So, if you're interested, there's a nice bibliography at the back of where to get started. I've been waiting 50 years since I received a degree in classical civilizations to have these perspectives brought to life. I am so satisfied and thrilled on such a deep level. You probably can't tell, right? No, I'm just like, that the wisdom and understanding of women from ancient times is being unearthed and discussed by these younger classicists and historians. And of course, the work is not finished. Society still suppresses the feminine and refuses to accept equality on so many levels. I'm going to list just a few things that highlight the current repression of women, BIPOC and LGBTQIA people in today's world. And I really don't mean to trigger anyone. I'm not going into detail on any of these. This is a bit of a laundry list. We can all follow the news. So there's more information out there. Here's a brief list of very recent anti-women actions. The delayed and clouded release of the Epstein files. Advancement and recognition in our armed forces for our warriors for qualified women. The right to rape rallies. The administration's SAVE Act. Higgs's call to measure the testosterone levels of service members. The ban by the Southern Baptist Convention on the ordination of women pastors and forbidding them from preaching. The overturn of Roe v. Wade and attempts to limit access to contraception and IVF procedures. The manosphere. ICE, shackling, abusing, and neglecting detained pregnant women. The list is long. My studies have convinced me and many others that the root of misogyny often leads us back to the suppression of the divine feminine in religion. These ancient religions matter because these attitudes remain in our collective views even after the religions themselves have fallen away. People have asked me whether I am a real minister when I'm out wearing a clerical collar and been out speaking publicly. Even though there is a current push to return women to the bad old days, still, she rises. Replacing one imbalance with another isn't helpful. I do not wish to replace God with goddess in hearts and minds, and I'll repeat that. As a pantheist, I see the divine as an intelligence that permeates all, that is neither female nor male, and does not necessarily direct our individual lives. I appreciate all healthy and life-giving expressions of the divine and spirituality. We can seek wholeness through a balance of opposites, of feminine and masculine, and embrace of gender diversity in between those polarities. We can seek a world where reason and science, intuition and wonder are joined, where every person can see themselves reflected in some version of the sacred. Our 21st century offers explorations and commingling of quantum physics and mysticism by researchers and practitioners. Today's world invites us into many opportunities to be inclusive in our thinking, bridging science and mysticism. One of the messages I most want to leave with you today, which is, you have all heard, the sacred is larger than any single idea or image, larger than any one tradition, larger than any one or two genders. When we restore voices that have been silenced, when we honor wisdom that has been forgotten, when we remember the divine feminine alongside all other expressions of the holy, our vision becomes fuller. Our hearts become more capable of honoring our central UU tenet of love. Inclusivity is the UU superpower we all strive toward. May we honor the wisdom of those who came before us and speak the truths of our time. For you can see me in your eyes when they are mirrored by a friend. There is no end to the circle, no end. There is no end to life, there is no end. For I am the power to begin. I dream and bring forth what's never been. And you can hear me in your voice and feel me in each breath that you breathe in. There is no end to the circle, no end. There is no end to life, there is no end. Preach it, chant it, share it, my sisters, brothers, and siblings, because she rises. Blessed be.